Hello, and welcome to another episode of This, That, and the Other. Today we're going to be discussing game shows, favorite game shows, and I've always been a fan of them ever since I was a kid, since the 1960s.
I grew up watching them with my parents, my grandparents, especially every single night. They sit down and they watch The Wheel of Fortune, and I believe maybe The Price is Right. I can't. Grandma, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken, but I know The Wheel of Fortune for sure.
My mother used to watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune with my dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a great
they used to
show.
watch that every night. Um, I think the best game show personally. I liked What's My Line.
What's My Line is actually a really good one.
It came out in the 50s. It went on from the 50s to 60s, and then they had a syndicated version that went on to like the late 60s to the 70s, and it was basically contestants would. There was a panel of four, and they would try to guess what their occupations were. Every time a person would sign their name on the chalkboard, and then they had a mystery guest where the panel was blindfolded and it'd be some celebrity, and they disguise their voice, and the panel would try to figure out. But I like seeing the autographs of the celebrities, how they signed their names.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. What game shows did you like?
My favorite has to probably be Jeopardy and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I know there was another one I wrote down. Wipeout. Have you ever seen?
I have not.
Wipeout
I
is
know what
the
that is.
funniest game show ever. Oh my, we'll get to that in a minute, but that's definitely my favorite two or three.
I like Pyramid also, the various 10,000, 20,000, whatever versions. Dick Clark hosted that show for years.
Oh, wow,
And then
Dick Clark.
John Davidson later on hosted it, and I saw him doing in a musical Wolf Trap, and they were signing autographs. I was talking to him. I can't remember the name of the game, and I just said, I remember you from the Pyramid Game. He just laughs at the Pyramid Game, huh?
Pyramid game, huh?
They had a Donny Osmond version, which was not as good.
Yeah.
And then they brought it back on Game Show Network for like a few months, and I'm hoping they'll bring that thing back again. It was one of the cooler game shows they ever came up with.
Wow.
There was another one that was out in the 60s, 70s called Concentration, where you had like, you know what rebus writing is?
No.
Rebus is basically it's pictures and like
Oh, and you have to connect the words with
Yeah.
pictures. Yes. Okay.
It's like
so
it's
an
like
eye
yeah.
for an eye.
If you might like have a letter A and then the thing bar on a slot machine and a picture of a gun, a bargain,
Oh, a bargain.
and then
yeah.
PR and then an ice cube price, a bargain price like that.
Ah.
They would what would happen? They'd have 30 squares and they'd have to match the two prizes. They'd be like, I'll take 1 and 30, and it might say something like kitchen earthenware. Vacation to Aruba, and those two don't match. And wild cards would be an automatic match with anything. But each time you match some pieces of the puzzle would be revealed,
okay,
pictures,
okay.
and they'd ask them, "Can you solve the puzzle?" And somebody finally solved the puzzle. They won all the prizes.
Wow,
That's
that
how
actually sounds like a really
Concentration
good game show.
worked out. It was on during the '80s too. Alex Trebek hosted the classic Concentration.
Okay. See, I'm really bad with names, so I gotta do a little bit of research here and there, you know. But so we're gonna just kind of quickly talk about the top 10 list, and right now the 10, 9, and 8. All right, 10 is the Cube. Never heard of it.
Never heard of that one either.
9 is Takeshi's Castle, Japanese game show where 100 contestants get picked off one by one in such a sadistic challenge. I think I've seen this one. It was very odd but hysterical the way they pick off people. It's just like
I've
they
never
throw them
seen it.
into like a huge crazy type of like obstacle course type thing. Oh my gosh,
Wow.
it was just the Wipeout, like
never
similar
heard
to
of
Wipeout.
Okay.
Wipeout is the American version
Okay,
of
okay,
that.
okay,
It's an
okay.
obstacle course.
Okay.
And they have teams.
Okay,
And
okay.
and the top 3 teams go to a bigger course,
Right,
and
right.
then whoever wins that one
Right.
wins the $100,000.
I go back to where the game show host wore suits. Would always wear a suit.
Weakest
That-
link is number
yeah.
8.
Okay, I do remember Weakest Link. They had that lady from that woman from England that hosted it. I do remember that.
Anne Robinson.
And I've seen versions where she hosted the show in England as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember Weakest Link. That was that was on the early 2000s. That's when that thing was on. Yeah, I do remember that.
7, 6, and 5 is 7 is Deal or No Deal.
Okay, yeah,
Everyone loves-
definitely remember that game show. I would have stopped at 200 250,000. Anything over 250,000, I would stop.
If you even got to that, I would be
that.
like, I'll take it. It's a house right there.
I love that game
That's
show.
a good
I wish
show.
I wish it was still around because I'd try to get on it.
Wheel of Fortune is number 6.
Oh yeah, my friend of mine was on
Wheel of Fortune.
Friend of mine was on Wheel of Fortune.
That's a fun show because there's it's it's not just wheeling the wheel. It's trying to guess the sentences
Right.
Number 5 is Jeopardy.
Okay.
Which I'm surprised is low on the list.
If you ever go look at YouTube, Jeopardy was originally hosted by Art Fleming. I remember back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
He was the host of Jeopardy, and
it really makes you appreciate intelligent people. That show.
Art Fleming. I really liked Art Fleming when he hosted that show. He was really good.
Yeah.
And Alex Trebek. They brought Jeopardy back, and Alex Trebek took over. I mean, he's good too. I mean, I can't say one's better than the other.
Yeah.
I like the Art Fleming version. A little different from what you see now. But I mean, it was the same thing. You had the boards, but the money was a lot less money. It was first one would be like $10, $10 to $50 now. I don't know, maybe like $100 to $1,000 now.
Oh, okay.
Different. If a person got to $700 back then, that was a lot of money back in those days.
And and also with Jeopardy, I want to point out that some of the contestants have become celebrities, like Ken Jennings, Brad Rutter, Arthur Chu, and those are I'm sure maybe you don't recognize those names, but I know our viewers probably will. I think those were probably in either the early to mid years of Jeopardy coming out.
And there was a guy that was on there for several weeks.
Family Feud was a good game show, but that's not even on here on the top 10 list.
Oh, that's not on top 10.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember Family Feud was hosted by Richard Dawson.
Yeah.
I remember that show, and then Ray Combs hosted it, and then Richard Dawson came back and took it over again, and there was a big applause.
Now, the gentleman that messed up at the Miss America.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Oh God, what is
his name?
What is that man's name? Yeah, I know who you're talking.
He hosted it for a while.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I know what he looks like. I shaved head with a mustache. I can't
caterpillar on his lips.
I can't think of his name right now.
I know, I can't either.
I do know.
I can't believe it escaped
Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey.
That's who it is. That's who it.
The man who messed up Miss America.
You should see. Did you see his reaction when he realized what he had done?
Yes. Oh my God.
That poor girl. She didn't speak English. That Miss Columbia, and they took the crown off her. She didn't even know what was going on.
She's like, what?
She didn't even know what. She didn't even know what was going on.
Did I? She didn't even. She's like, I didn't cheat.
He was looking at it. He's like, well, a piece of paper does say that. It's actually Miss Philippines. Yeah, she's actually the winner. It could have happened to anybody, a mistake like that. I don't know. I thought it was funny watching it.
That was pretty funny and sad at the same time. I feel so bad for the ladies.
I felt very bad for her. Yeah.
Number 4 is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Okay, my mother loved that.
My favorite was when Regis hosted it. It was just the best when Regis hosted it.
Oh, absolutely.
He's really funny.
I used to watch. I remember watching one guy win the million, and the question was what landlocked country was contained within another country, and the answer was Lesotho. It's contained in South Africa. I'd never even heard of it. I've never
even heard of that country.
Yeah. I mean, the man struggled with it for a while, and he was like, finally went for it, and he won the million.
Wow.
I remember that one.
Oh my gosh.
I was watching it with my mother.
Now, Doug here doesn't know Wipeout. I'm gonna have to educate him on Wipeout.
I don't know what. 3? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's number 3 on the list. Which woo.
What network?
Okay,
is
Wipeout.
that on?
I think it's. Oh, what was it on? Oh, I can't remember. There's 2 hosts. I can't remember their names. Let me see if it says it. No, I don't have it on here.
Okay, that's fine.
But they were so funny. There's like one who plays like a dumb one host, and then there's a smart host, and they always banter back and forth.
I never heard it.
And he's the one that's like, oh, look at that ball, like sweet
Sounds
Jesus heals to heaven.
It sounds like those Nickelodeon game shows they had for kids.
It was almost like that.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh my gosh, Doug, it's the funniest show. The people, they call it Wipeout because they wipe out.
Okay.
They
Right.
slip and fall,
Okay.
and it is so hysterical.
Okay.
It's in like water pits and mud pits.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
the obstacles over them.
Okay.
Oh my God, Doug, it's this funny show. Like, I would literally be crying laughing. It's so funny. Once you see it, I gotta show you. All right, and the last two. Oh, it is on here.
Okay.
We
Okay.
already talked about
Let's-
Family Feud,
let's
but
get-
Price is Right is number
okay,
2.
Bob Barker. Bill Cullen originally hosted in the 1950s.
And then Drew Carey.
Drew Carey after Bob Barker. I remember watching the prime time last episode of it where they had some really big showcases. Both had cars on and everything. But yeah, that was an interesting show to watch about Bob Barker version of Price is Right. Drew Carey's okay, but I liked it better when Bob Barker was there. It's just,
I like Drew
really,
Carey, so I think he did a great
but
job.
Drew Carey's a lot nicer. Much nice and probably much nicer person to work with. yeah. From what I've read, I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on this. I don't know.
And then Family Feud is actually number 1. I misspoke myself when I thought it wasn't on the list. I apologize.
Do you know what Richard Dawson did on that show is different from other game shows? He'd meet the women. He'd kiss each one of them on the lips.
I know. And they were like, oh my God. And their husband was standing right next to him.
Richard Dawson
and they'd be like, yeah.
And then at the end, he'd do the same thing again. When they were leaving, he'd do the same thing.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, this guy's got kahunas. The husband right there. He's like, hey, buddy, how you doing? They're like, okay. That was a great show. I love Family Feud because you got to. It's always like, I love when they do the challenges and they got the, his peanuts on the board and no, and then 3 X's and then out.
I like the fast money at the very end. They do that. There was another game show we both talked about early today that won Baggage. I like that. It was
Baggage,
by Jerry Springer.
By Jerry Springer. That is a hysterical show. It really shows. Now, I question if that baggage is real or not, but I wouldn't doubt it. Some people, their baggage is like, they don't say anything because, they're so, I guess, nervous for the person to leave them because their baggage is so huge.
I was going to mention, too, back in the 1950s, there was a game show, Scandal.
I've never heard of it.
I don't know if you know about this, but they had some game shows called like 21 $64,000 questions where the contestants were actually given the answers ahead of time. And
wow.
Yeah, they were making it look like they knew all this stuff.
Oh, my gosh.
There was a movie quiz show, as a matter of fact, about the true story of Herbert Stemple taking on Charles Van Doren, and they asked Herbert Stemple to take a fall and answer a question wrong they already knew the right answer to, and they said he'd have a future in television, so he did. And then it's Charles Van Doren, this nicer looking man, wins, and he's on there for several weeks. But Herbert Stemple finally goes to the district, in the movie at least, goes to district attorney about it. And I remember there's a scene in the movie where he's saying publicly, Charles Bill Van Doren had to be given the answers ahead of time. And it's like, why do you think that? Because I was given the answers ahead of time. And then all of a sudden there's like, oh my God, his wife hears it and everything, and then at the end, Van Doren admitted to it, and it ruined his. He was on a TV show. He lost that. He lost his job as a professor at the university. It really ruined his career.
Wow.
And I remember at the end they were saying that Herbert Stemple, why don't you and Van Doren get in a picture? And Herbert Stemple said, "You see his face? Look at him. I mean, people are crazy."
Wow.
But it totally ruined his career.
That sucks.
But it messed up game shows for a while. From what I heard, some of those were off the air, but they gradually came back again.
Yeah.
But if you ever get a chance, watch the movie Quiz Show, because that's about
Quiz Show.
Yeah, it's about that game
All
show.
Right.
21. Matter of fact, they brought 21 back in the 2000s, which was terrible. Maury Povich hosted it.
Okay. I actually I'm not familiar with that, but that's.
Is there anything else you remember? Any other memories you have?
Family Feud was really good. Always loved Baggage. My dad watched that all the time. My dad watched Baggage all the time. He thought it was so funny.
I did too.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just crazy. I actually saw a recent one. It's like the Newlywed Game.
Oh yeah.
show.
Oh, I remember that from when I was a kid. That goes
crazy.
back. That goes back to probably when I was 5 years old. It goes back that far. I remember that show.
Oh my
Newlywed
gosh.
Game. Yeah.
And there's a game show with like lyrics. Name that song or something.
Oh, name that tune. Yeah, I remember that.
Tune. That
was a good game show. Also, I do remember those two.
Because a lot of people are quick; they can name songs just off a couple lyrics,
And they had a game show too called The Dating Game, where they'd have 3 bachelors, and they'd have like bachelorette, or it'd be vice versa, bachelor, 3 bachelorettes, and they wouldn't see them.
Yeah.
And they'd ask questions and they'd say, which one do you want to pick? Bachelor number 1, number 2, or number 3?
Oh,
I'll pick
man.
number 2. I'd say, okay, let me first have you meet the 2 that you didn't pick, and they'd come over and yeah.
That would
yeah.
suck if they picked one and she had a butterface.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But they
Oh.
I remember they had some celebrities go on there and pick between 3 women. I'd see
Yeah.
or 3 women celebrities pick between 3 men. I saw or
Just
3
hope
men
they like
celebrities.
brains over beauty.
But I do remember dating game. That was going on at the same time as the Newlywed Game.
Yeah.
I mean there have been so many various game shows. What was that other one where you punch the thing down and you had the whammy? What was that game show?
Oh, I can't even tell you. I'm not familiar with that.
They had one where a board, different mounts would move on the board, and you'd push the thing down. If you hit a whammy, you'd be out, and the next person would get. It was kind of like hitting bankrupt on Wheel of Fortune.
I can't even tell you. I'm not familiar with that one.
But
I don't even know.
There's a lot of fond memories. I'm sure after this thing's over, I'll
probably think of all of it flooding back.
I'll think of others. And I was going to mention another thing. I started a new thing that I'm doing. I started a Facebook page called Programs Galore. I've got over 130 sports programs, and I'm scanning them and putting
Wow.
posting them.
That's awesome.
I've gone through 5 of them so far. It takes about 2 hours to do one because those things are over 100 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm gradually
Yes.
I'm scanning them
so
and
make sure
cropping
you go
them.
and like the page.
Yes, and subscribe. We need more
Subscribe,
subscribers.
keep watching, keep following us. Our videos are gonna start containing a lot more. We're gonna maybe go out on some limbs and try some new stuff, and we might be having something coming up in July, a little surprise. So cross our fingers.
All right, all right.
And thank you for watching.
Yes, thanks for watching.